The eagle-eyed amongst you may have noticed that I have braces. That's right, I am one of the many adult brace faces out there. I think mine are a bit more noticeable because I also need jaw alignment, which is why I have elastic bands in. Like a true born-again teenager, I decided to go with Invisalign, which is the more expensive route. The reason for that is I was reading all these reviews online for other companies where you take the molds yourself, for example, and that lowers the cost because you don't see the orthodontist directly. And some people were having mixed results. I just felt like the risk of it going wrong wasn't worth it. I wanted to be with someone I trusted and get the results that I wanted. The reason I was interested in the first place was aesthetic, but it was also functional. I'd had a frank conversation with my dentist who said that if I could afford it, it would be a good thing to do and it would help the health of my jaw. Just a point of importance, you don't normally hear about primary cause of death being misaligned teeth. It's normally heart issues. But in terms of why we've got more issues now, there's some thinking that back 100 years ago, the food was a lot less processed and a lot harder, so your jaw worked out more and then the teeth just went into place better. However, having this done now would probably make my life a bit easier later on. I would like to still have my teeth when I eventually pop my clogs. After that conversation, I went to the orthodontist at my dental practice and I had a middling result with her. I felt like just a number, and I normally ask a lot of questions. I really like to understand what I'm getting myself in for. For example, she told me I needed top and bottom braces and I wanted to know why and didn't feel like she fully answered that question. So what ended up happening is I went back to my dentist and asked him all these questions and he answered them. And it does help that I've got that relationship with him, the things that he says I trust. He explained to me that the reason that you get both arches done instead of just one, unless it's a really, really minor problem, is that you're moving teeth and therefore you're affecting your bite. In order to fix your bite, you move both sets of teeth together. It made me feel a lot better about it. So having been buoyed up by my dentist, I pushed the orthodontist in the UK a little bit more, but I was very honest about what my next movements were. I knew that I was leaving the UK within the next 9 months and that we'd be on the road. So basically, from them I got almost a hard no. They were like, no can do, can't help you, you're not going to be with us for long enough. So I left it, and I left it until we came to Australia and I started earning a bit of money, and then I thought this is a good time to talk to an orthodontist, but I also knew that that was short term. I went anyway. So I said to them, I'm not sure that we're going to be in Australia for the next 12 months, but you know, it's a moving situation, but I will do whatever you think. What options do we have? And because I did not say definitively I am leaving the country at this point, and because they were a bit more open, it was a process that we started. They are very, very reluctant to have you on board if you are not going to be there for the full time, and the reason for that is that they don't get the full funding. It is possible, like me, to be moving around while you're on a treatment plan. However, you do need to be mindful of the timing of your treatment plan. But let's quickly cover my experience in Australia. I shopped around a little bit to start with, had a conversation with a few people, a couple of dental nurses, and to be honest, I went with who actually got back to me. Something that you may need to know about me is that I definitely work on vibes. I have a bit of a gut feeling, oh, I like these people, and then I go, yeah, fine, we'll make it work. Saves me time. The orthodontic nurse in Australia was really, really good. She talked me through all the options and explained this, that and the other, and gave me a suggestion of what I would expect coming in. I actually got struck down by the Rona when I was supposed to have my first appointment, so I contacted them and said, look, I'm really sorry, I can't make the appointment tomorrow because I've just got a positive coronavirus test. Is there a way that I can talk to you on the phone? And she actually said yes. She said, yeah, I'll give you a video call. And we had a conversation for maybe 45 minutes on Skype or something, and it was so good. Her customer service was absolutely amazing. I'm so impressed. She's like absolute star. And this is the point at which we're talking about my options if I were to stop the treatment plan a chunk of the way through. But eventually I got better. I recovered from the Rona, because there is only so much you can do when you're having a conversation with somebody on the camera, even if you're going, yeah, this is my teeth, yeah, this is the problem I'm having. You also take all sorts of up close and personal pictures where you can see up your nose and you're going, oh no, that angle's not fantastic, but you can see that it's a good picture of your teeth, so you have to send them off to some strangers and just deal with it. My orthodontist is in a very nice building in central Melbourne, and it smells of vanilla, and it's in a fancy art deco place, and you go, okay, wow, this is what the Invisalign money's paying for. But it's not that much different to any other place, so actually I think it's just how they're spending their funds. I get into the office, I'm of course there on time. They're relatively prompt but not perfect. I have a chat with the same lovely lady who I spoke to on the video call, and then the orthodontist comes in. Almost the first thing he says to me is, you need jaw surgery. It's going to be about $20,000, £10,000 on top of what you're already going to be paying. That's a bit extreme, isn't it? Like, I can eat. And harking back, don't think the number one cause of death is misaligned jaw. So you're telling me I have to be out of action for at least 3 months, sipping through a straw, my jaw bound up like that, for something that isn't actually a problem. I mean, I'm already prepared to spend a fair chunk of money on braces, and now you're saying I need jaw surgery. Doesn't seem quite right. I don't need jaw surgery, okay? He said in order for your bite to be 100% aligned, you would need jaw surgery. That is not the same as you need jaw surgery. So we had the conversation. Also, before this, more pictures were taken of me. They do need to do it, but if you're sensitive about your teeth, then it's not the most pleasant experience. But again, none of it's particularly pleasant, so just deal with it. He leaves the room, it's just my friend and I. And she goes, how do you feel about jaw surgery? And I go, a bit extreme. And she goes, yeah, most people don't opt for it. I'm pretty happy with the rest of it. I've done my research, I know roughly what to expect. So I sign up, they do some scans on my teeth, which can be quite uncomfortable, but it's not for very long. Basically, they have to get a 3D scanning camera into your mouth. And if you've got quite a tight jaw, the teeth at the back, in order to get it 100% scanned, they have to really wedge it in there. They're not the most forgiving when they're young in your mouth. It's most dental stuff, it's quite a big thing in quite a small space. Anyway, I'm told that in about 5 weeks I will have my first set of aligners. Now, the very first thing that I do is I go away, I tell Francis about it, and he goes, jaw surgery, and I go, I'm not doing it, and he goes, well, phew. And then I go into work because, you know, I'm taking time off to go through this joy, and then I go, they told me I needed jaw surgery. Again, if you're sensitive about your mouth, you don't really want to be drawing attention to it, but I was so shocked, I was just like, and I spoke to 2 of the people who said the exact same thing happened to me. And I went, your teeth are fine. And they went, yeah, that's what I thought. And with these conversations, it turned out we knew maybe 10 people who'd had the same experience, one of which was a child. Okay, and as a collective group, we established that perhaps only one person of those 10 actually maybe needed jaw surgery. And we don't know because we're not them. Again, a very dramatic thing to hear. I feel that message needs to be addressed. And maybe I'm misremembering this, but I'm pretty sure it went from 0 to extreme pretty quickly. It wasn't that I would recommend you do this and it's going to get you X% of the way there. And then if I went and what would perfection be? And then they go, it would require jaw surgery. It wasn't that conversation. It was, I think you need jaw surgery. And my nurse friend said, he's a perfectionist. His aim is to get 100%. That's fine. But we live in the real world and perfection is not here. No, I'm not traumatized, but I just feel like that wasn't dealt with very well at all. So if you've had a similar experience and you didn't think you needed jaw surgery, I'd suggest you don't need it. Just coming from a pragmatist, you could do a revamp of your house for that sort of money. Contrary to expectations, 3 or 4 weeks later I get a call to say, your teeth are ready. So I say, pretty please, can I bring my appointment forward? Because it's never a guarantee, especially with this sort of thing. They're quite booked up. But they have availability. They say, can you do in the next couple of days? And I go, yes, fantastic. I'll come after work. Brilliant. So get me in the chair. Don't see the orthodontist. He's off telling people they need jaw surgery. Depending on your case and your orthodontist preferences, you may have different things going on with your teeth. I was prescribed attachments and buttons along with my trays. So the trays shift your teeth sideways. The attachments change the pressure of how that happens, the force on your teeth. And the buttons are for the elastics, which changes my jaw alignment and also helps pull some teeth in different directions that the trays themselves and the attachments can't do as well. For my first set, I'm on my second now, I had cutouts in the Invisalign trays themselves, whereas now I've got metal buttons on my teeth. The things on your actual teeth are with UV resin. So what they have to do, if anyone is familiar with gel nail polish, it's pretty similar process. They put something probably acidic on your teeth to wear away the enamel and make the teeth more porous, and then attach this plasticky, resiny stuff to your teeth, which then your braces click into. It has to be quite strong, otherwise, as you can imagine, it will come off. It's the same with the buttons, by the way. They put resin on and then attach the metal. That whole process is quite unpleasant, and I am definitely one to be in my head about it anyway, but I'm just going, you're really not helping my teeth here. You may be fixing my alignment, but you don't care a jot about the health of my little toothies. At this appointment, they also demonstrate how to get your trays on and off and give you a bit of time to do it yourself. I would recommend not having really, really short nails at this point because you have to get under to properly get them off. At the very beginning, especially if you have very wonky teeth, then it can hurt when you get them on and off. My teeth have straightened out. It's fine. There's a little bit of pressure, but not really anything to worry about. So that was how my Invisalign journey began. You can see my teeth are pretty straight now. I am one of those really sexy people who have a great overbite going on, and the elastics are maybe helping a little bit. It's unclear how much they're supposed to move because a lot of all your treatment plan is dependent on how your teeth move. The orthodontist can use your age, models, their education, all that sort of thing to guess, but it does depend on your jaw and your usage. I think usage is number one, but number one has to come on a foundation from somewhere, and that is what your teeth are doing. I've been very lucky in that my dental plan has been one where I follow it on a weekly basis, so every week I have a new aligner, and my teeth have moved. There was some advice from Invisalign up until a few years ago that said that 2 weeks was the minimum amount of time you could have one tray in. The reason for that is they need to give your teeth time to settle into new position. Effectively, what any brace does in a non-scientific way is move your tooth to some extent, destroying those root connections, and then holds that tooth in position for long enough that there's some repair that happens. If you're doing that with Invisalign, you're doing that every single week in my case, and it's moving the tooth bit by bit by bit. One of the really freaky bits about Invisalign, and I looked into it to a certain extent, but I didn't dive massively into the downsides. Like with birth videos, I've not gone, let me look at all the traumatic things about birth because I'm just going to get in my head about it. So I opted with following dental advice of people I trusted. But one thing that has freaked me out a bit is that my tooth wobble, and some of the time they've wobbled more than others, and it's really blimmin' off-putting when a tooth that is not supposed to move starts moving and you go, am I going to lose my tooth? Normal braces, you can't do that. You don't take the brace off, but they do still wobble. And you do have to be careful. You don't want to be biting into an apple and go, oh, I've lost a tooth. Too much force, too little time. I think the other general top tip I would have is that you do need to be very careful about how you're brushing your teeth. You really have to balance the time that you're taking them out with how soon after you eat you brush your teeth. Because of things like the enzymes in your mouth and the level of acidity in your food, the enamel after you've just eaten is weaker. So if you brush your teeth straight away, you are eroding that enamel. You normally have to wait about half an hour for the pH of your mouth to be back where it's supposed to be. The question then becomes, do you put your tray back in, leave it half an hour, take it out, brush your teeth? Because your tray will then have bacteria transfer, which will then be sitting on your teeth. That's something that isn't necessarily easy to answer because you have to tailor it to your eating habits. I had a filling replaced recently, and because we're on the road, it was in New Zealand. So that was a fun part of the holiday. Something you need to be aware of with fillings and Invisalign is if you have a replacement or a new filling, it affects the shape of your teeth, so your trays may not fit as well. The dentist does their best to work around this and you bring your tray with you, but it's worth letting your orthodontist know too. All in all, my experience so far, my teeth have gotten a lot straighter. I'm a lot less self-conscious about them now. Though I still am a little bit, partly because it's really hard to break the habit, but also because there's a bit of erosion on one side that's uneven because my teeth weren't straight. And I can see that and I go, oh, there's a big gap, there's a big gap, there's a big gap. I'll deal with it mentally or in my own time. So psychologically, it's not something that just goes away. Because I'm partway through my program, my arch alignment isn't right. That's a big part of what we're doing now to try to get the teeth to move more accurately on top of each other. But it feels really weird when I'm biting and I can hold my jaw in a couple of different places. That's very strange. But I can still eat, and it does emphasize the point, jaw alignment will probably not get you in the end. The biggest factor that I think would have improved my experience is if the orthodontists were a little bit more self-aware in how they came across to me as a consumer. I don't know a lot about orthodontics, and I've made it a point to remain that way, but the little that I do know does give me a bit of a sniff test. I feel like I was asking some very obvious questions. For example, when you come to the end of a set, you stay in those same trays for about 5 weeks until your new ones come along. Plastic is very porous, and even with the best cleaning regimen, after 5 weeks, your trays are not nice. They have yellowed, they start to smell faster and faster, and there is bacteria sitting on your teeth. The obvious thing to me at least is to order extra of that last tray to get you through, maybe 2 extra to get you as cleanly through that period as possible. It's not like nobody knows the waiting period's coming up, it's for every single client. So you go, what's a few more pennies doing another couple of trays? It just feels like an obvious trade-off to me. You can't really get the next set any sooner because they have to do another 3D scan of your teeth at the end of your current set. But to me, it's really obvious that in order to maintain your teeth health, you just get a few more trays. Yes, it's an extra expense, but it's a piece of plastic. It surely isn't that much more expensive. And if you had the option to cover that expense, I would totally do it. I've put so much time, effort, pain, and money into it. I would definitely do that. The health of my teeth at this point is paramount. If they all fall out, what's the point? I've also only seen my orthodontist twice in my whole treatment plan, and the nurses 3 times, maybe 4, because they had to stick extra bits on the teeth. You're paying for their expertise in the background, but it does feel like a bit of a cop-out. Especially when I started asking more questions at the end of my first set, such as would it be possible to speed up my plan anymore, like changing my aligners twice a week instead of once. It was a valid question because teenagers couldn't change their trays more often, but that could also be because their bones are developing, they've got more elasticity. But it was a valid question and I didn't get an answer for it. If I had my time again, would I go through something like Smile Direct Club instead? Probably not. I still think there's value in going to the actual orthodontic nurse to get your molds taken or teeth scanned. If I hadn't done that, I would be stressing over absolutely everything. Realistically, is there much difference if you do the same job? No, probably not. I think it's psychological. But again, I just don't think I'd risk my teeth. So there's my 2 cents on my Invisalign journey so far. Hopefully that's helped you a little bit. Key takeaway is ask the obvious questions. Don't be fully surprised if you don't get an answer, but hound them down if it's important. You're not just a number, stick up for yourself. I really hate that the trays are made of plastic because every week by the end of it, or even before then, they start to taste really plasticky. I'm just obsessing over the microplastics in my blood. I know that I'm getting them anyway, but this is very close quarters. It's straight into my mouth. I'm basically eating plastic. But I suppose I've chosen this path for the greater health of my jaw. See you next week.